Hey guys, it's Classic. Welcome to this week's episode of Casual Talks, where I get on the pitch with your favorite people in the Rocket League community to find more about them. This week's episode features the father of early Rocket League esports, Cloudfuel. I start with always, kind of the same question, and it's mostly like, when did you start to get into Rocket League?
Yeah, so I mean, my story kind of starts way back, sort of at the beginning of Rocket League. I found out about Rocket League when it was in its second beta on the PlayStation, and so this would have been around like the middle of May in 2015. And I mean, it was kind of just like by chance. A friend of mine found it on Reddit, like found a post saying like, "Hey, there's this great game. People should check it out." Rocket League kind of filled a niche that I was really looking to fill. And I fell in love. I mean, like I remember, so I had like 2 email accounts, and I put in a request to get access to the game, and I didn't get it right off the bat. And I was like dead set. I wanted to play this game. So I created like 4 other email accounts just to try and like up my chances of being able to get in and get a key. And then lo and behold, I got a key, and I started playing, and I was hooked. I ended up taking like the next 2 days of work off.
Wow.
Just because I couldn't stop playing. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was addicted. It was pretty bad. And so with Rocket League, it like the whole picture sort of like snapped into place when I started playing the game. I was like, this is like, to me, this is the esport, right? This is something that anybody can pick up and understand, play, and love. And this was before I even met, Cronovi and Gibbs and all the other SARP guys. This was like just from me playing with a group of my friends and having a blast. And then it really took off when I met some of those pros. And I mean, back then they weren't really pros. They were just sort of underground. Just community figures that have been playing for a long time. And once I saw them play, it was like, okay, there's no question. This is absolutely an esport.
How was your process of just, going from player to like organizer, if I may?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm a bit older than most people that I've, kind of assume would go pro.
How old, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I'm 32. I'll be 33 this year. Not too bad, but definitely older than like the typical sort of pro range. When I got into the game, I kind of I immediately sort of thought like, okay, I don't have the time to be able to play this thing as often as I would want to. I don't know. I never really thought about going pro, to be fair. It wasn't even really like a decision. It was more just like, okay, this game is awesome. I want to play as much of this as possible. I want to run a tournament. Like, that's how it really got started. Is I, like, amongst my friends, we were talking, and to give some context, like, we were playing Madden, and we had a bunch of different leagues within Madden that we'd play, and I was kind of the orchestrator, the statistician. I kind of did all that sort of stuff. Yeah. We started playing Rocket League, and it was like, oh, well, let's just do something like that for Rocket League, right? Let's see what we've got. Let's do like a little twos tournament or something. And so we did that sort of in-house, and it was super fun. And then I was like, we could really do this on a bigger scale. Like, so I reached out on the subreddit, and I reached out on the forums, and it took off. I mean, we had guys like Cronovi, Gibbs, man, there were a ton of people that ended up showing up to it. Fisho Kid, Cole, Dig Dog, like some of the more iconic names that were really well known in the early days, reached out, and we're like, man, this is really cool that this sort of random new guy is wanting to run tournaments. And they were asking me questions. They were giving some suggestions and thoughts of like how this thing could work. And as we started sort of collaborating and chatting, I think at one point they invited me to play with them. And so I got to see firsthand like what Cronovi was like, in early 2015. And at the time, it was scary. I never had any sort of intentions of doing what all has happened with Rocket League since. Like, I kind of hoped that was going to be the case, right? I hoped that, oh man, it'd be really cool if MLG got involved and ESPN. But I was very naive. I really didn't know what all it took. I thought that was my way to contribute. Because I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a pro. I'm not somebody who can do YouTube videos. but I could organize events, and I know how to, you know, I've worked in customer service and logistics in the oil and gas industry for the past 15 plus years. So I know how to take care of people. I know how to make things work. I know how to get stuff from point A to point B. So to me, that was kind of like my way of being an active contributor to the community.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And so that's kind of how I got started in the tournament organizing and event running and things of that nature. And like at that point, I was like, I'm going full on with this. Like, I am going to make a website. I don't know how, but I'm going to find a way to make a website. I'm going to reach out to people and see if there's other people that are interested. Like, this needs to take off.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. And I reached out on the subreddit and on the forums and started just kind of getting connected with people and telling them about my idea. I had some really lengthy conversations with like Cronovi, and he gave me a lot of really good suggestions of like, hey, there's there's these websites that are already out there, like Smashboards for Super Smash Brothers, and the LOL esports site for League of Legends. Like, you should do something like that. You know, I reached out to a couple different people about like how to go about doing a website, and I actually took some time to research how to build a website, you know, how to go about getting a domain, and just like all these sort of, you know, simplistic, I guess, things that I'd never really been involved in, and sort of took a crack at it. And for anybody that unfortunately saw that first iteration of our website, you know, they had a good laugh, because it was not great.
I mean, at least you started.
I did. Yeah, at least I started. And I think that's probably like the moral of like any story out of this is like, just get started.
Yep.
Because if you look at where I came from to where I am now, it's night and day, right? And then, like, this never would have happened if I didn't take a chance. This is probably the worst part. I was running tournaments out of my email. So we had a tournament. This kind of fast forwards a little bit, but there was at one point, the PS4 was the only place that competitions were held. PC was not involved. So I came up with the idea of a PC only tournament, and I called it the PC Needs Love Tournament. And I ran that entire thing out of my email. I had no idea how many people were going to sign up for the beta tournament. We had, I think, a total of maybe 40 people that signed up. And for this thing, there were 500.
Holy cow! Yeah,
it skyrocketed quickly. There were I think 150 teams per region, so I think it might have actually been like 600 people out of my email.
That must have been
Cloudfuel.
A
That's like my Gmail account. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Anyway, yeah, we never actually finished that tournament, but it was awesome. It was a great learning experience, and it was actually a great way for me to meet people. I ended up meeting James Bot through that tournament, and that would ultimately go on to be like one of the greatest sort of like things to happen to me. Like meeting him was fantastic. Like, he changed so much for me. So, like, again, totally worth it. It was a mess. It was a lot of work. It was a pain in the ass, but it was sort of like the necessary steps I needed to take for me to learn how to do things better.
I mean, how did it go from like those small tournaments run out of your email inbox into this giant RLCS that we now have? Like, how did the transition go?
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of all sort of started with like I said before, started out with like an original team. We had like the Rocket League Central website. That was sort of the first iteration of Rocket League Central, and for one reason or another, didn't really go so well. Wasn't really sure if this was something that was going to take off. Okay. And sort of on the other side of, you know, literally on the other side of the pond, the Rocket League Garage guys were busy putting together something for rocket-league.com. You know, I started working with the Rocket League Garage guys, and we pretty quickly after that, we announced that we were going to start running events. And so Rocket Royale was the first collaborative event that we did together, with Rocket League Garage being sort of like the production and graphics team. And then myself, James Bot, and Gibbs sort of being more like the operational side of things. There were two guys. One of them was known as Utread 68 in the community. and he was later to be known as like the Rocket League Santa, because he, like, out of, I guess, just the goodness of his heart, I'm still not really sure what exactly caused him to do this, but he donated PCs and all sorts of peripherals and things to pretty much all of the early pros.
Holy shit.
And got them all from PS4 over to PC and playing, you know, high quality. I ended up getting a PC from him. I know a bunch of people. I want to say like 20 plus people. I mean, he literally changed everything. And then there was another guy by the name of SL Express who was kind of the same way. He was somebody that was really good at analyzing. I mean, he was kind of one of those sort of subreddit, I don't know what you call them. I don't want to say like backseat driver, but like somebody that's just kind of like on the subreddit that like gives their 2 cents on a bunch of different topics, but made a lot of sense and had a lot of like sort of knowledge and just seemed like a real great, really great at analyzing and critiquing and just giving really good information. And so he self-funded the first 8 Rocket Royales, which ended up being a total amount of like, I think $4,000 or something. I mean, it was a decent amount for sure.
I mean, 4,000 is a lot of cash for one person.
Yeah, I mean, back then, yeah. I mean, the first ESL tournaments were like $75.
Yeah,
that was all you would win. And the biggest tournament to date at that point, I think, had only been like $100. So we started running $500 weekly tournaments, specifically designed for the best players in the world. We got to a point to where the Rocket Royale system was sort of unsustainable. Doing $500 a week for 2 months was too much. We couldn't afford to keep doing that. And like the intent was that like SL Express was kind of sort of an angel investor. He wanted us to get started and then sort of take it from there. Yeah. And we had community donations and things of that nature, but it really didn't kick off like we were hoping. So we had the idea of like, okay, what if we stretch this out a bit? Instead of doing, you know, $2,000 every single, you know, like $500 every single week over the course of a month and ending up at $2,000, let's stretch that like 2,000 to maybe 3 months and turn this into a pro league. And that would be another sort of great decisions that we made in the grand scheme of things. Because as many people know, that ended up becoming like the prequel to the RLCS. During the grand finals, we were highlighted on the Twitch front page and ended up reaching 10,000 individuals. And at that time, nobody had come close. I think the highest I'd ever seen was maybe like 500 or 600, aside from, you know, occasionally when like Lyric or somebody would stream it. But like from a competitive standpoint, nobody was getting more than like 500 or 600. So to hit 10,000,
that's a huge gap.
Blew our mind. I mean, there's just a lot of things that went right in that event. The Pash and Shalthus had their iconic calls. Shogun was involved in casting, James Bott. Like a lot of these guys got their start there. And I mean, it was incredible. Like that was, if I would have to, I mean, I have a lot of moments for sure over the past 3 years that have been, you know, like top 10 worthy moments of my life. But that one, that day, March 6, 2016, like that day for me will like live on forever. And it was around that time that the Twitch and Psyonix partnership was announced for the RLCS. Full disclosure, I knew this was coming. I had spoken with Josh Watson and Luke Thompson from Psyonix several months before, because they kind of asked like, hey, why'd you stop doing Rocket Royale? Why'd you move to this league format?
So that's the first, like, because that's what I wanted to get into. Because you talk a lot about like how you did things from the community standpoint, but you know, RLCS Psyonix was pretty much involved. So how did that transition go from like either them approaching you or the other way around? Like how did that go from community made to kind of, you know, Psyonix made?
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting because Psyonix reached out to myself and Gibbs and several others in late 2015 and just kind of wanted to pick our brains about what we wanted to see in esports for Rocket League. And Josh was the main guy that reached out because I think at the time he was like the community manager or something along those lines. And so we all talked to him. I had like 5 pages of notes that I was like, look, these are the things that I think you need to update. These are the ideas that I think, you need to implement that I think would be great. Here's where I see this going. I mean, I had this whole thing, and I was excited. That was the first time we'd ever really talked to Psyonix. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I was fanboying quite a bit because, oh, this is Psyonix. This is the developer of the game that I've loved and adored for the past 6 to 10 months.
Yeah.
And to me, they were gods. Like it was incredible. And so once the grand finals happened and the numbers skyrocketed and everybody was losing their minds, at one point Psyonix actually donated to our prize pool. So we were sitting at like 2,500 going into the playoffs, and community donations as well as Psyonix as a team donated, and then like as individuals also donated. Some of the developers donated certain amounts. Yeah. We got all the way up to $5,333, which at the time was insane. Like nobody else was even remotely close to that.
At this point, you were not a Twitch employee.
No, I didn't even know anything about Twitch.
Yeah,
I didn't know that Twitch was going to be involved. I assumed that this was just Psyonix by themselves. And so then the announcement comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay. So Twitch is going to operate and manage this. They're working together. They co-own this. Okay, cool. And again, I knew about Twitch. I'd been on Twitch for a long time. I've watched Twitch streamers, but I didn't really know the inner workings of Twitch. I didn't even know Twitch had an esports team. Again, very naive. Didn't really know a lot of these things. Very sort of ignorant of how things worked. And this all started happening around the same time. So like Twitch reached out to us, Psyonix reached out to us. We were losing our minds. We were like, what is happening right now?
Yeah,
everything is
so
happening.
Hard,
yeah, and it was such a validation of like we're doing it, because Twitch was going to be involved heavily in like growing the community as well as managing and operating the RLCS. He was looking for somebody to come in and do that, and to him, obviously it made sense to grab somebody from the community that knows it better than anybody else. That was kind of their intent, and so they landed on me. And I had no idea that was happening. It was just sort of like, oh, this guy from Twitch is talking to me. This is crazy. Okay, try to breathe. Try not to fanboy too hard. And, let's see where this thing goes. In April, they ended up interviewing me and then hiring me to join the Twitch esports team, which at the time was only like, I think, 10 to 15 people. We've grown a bit since then. But yeah, in the first season, it was just myself and Justin Delario on the Twitch side, sort of running the operations and marketing and stuff for the RLCS.
I like to end on, if you have like anything to say to like anyone, if you have to, if you want to shout out some people, shout out a message to some people, just like using this kind of moment to I don't know, get something like either off your chest or just sharing something.
Yeah, no, I think kind of in the spirit of like the early days of Rocket League, yeah, I'll do like a couple sort of like shout outs and thank yous, I guess. So first and foremost for me is Shalthus. He's somebody who recently passed away, and was just, man, he was such a joy to work with. I loved working with that guy. He had so much love for this game and for this community, and worked his ass off, man. He was one of the hardest workers, and he was honestly an inspiration for me. So the fact that we recently lost him in this community really sucks. For those that don't know, he had a brainstem stroke shortly before the RLCS kicked off, so he never really got the opportunity to live out his dream of doing Rocket League esports at the highest level. And it's just terribly unfortunate. So, like, I guess the message is, like, cherish every moment you've got, because you don't know what the next moment's going to be like. And you don't know when things can be taken from you in just a blink of an eye. And if you have the time, go back and watch some of his work. I mean, he was the OG caster. Back before there was a spectator system, he was the guy that was taking replays of games and casting over them and then releasing them on YouTube. It was great. I mean, he was a pioneer. He was an original, and we're all gonna miss him. So, Shalthus, wherever you're at, buddy, I hope you're pain free. I hope you're looking down on us from above and just enjoying something that you helped make. And then I guess for the rest of like the people I worked with, James Bott, Gibbs, the whole Rocket League Garage, Cinema and Academy team, all of the original SARP vets, Lachinio, Fisho Kid, Gibbs, Kronovi, Marky Duda, Mike Rules, Cuxer, all you guys, thank you so much for helping me get to this point. Because if it wasn't for you, I don't know that I would have dived into Rocket League esports the way I did. I don't know if I would have had the same sort of passion and direction that I did. And, it's because of you guys that I put so much effort into making all this happen, because you were all worth it, in my opinion. You guys deserve the opportunity to be the stars that you are. And I'm very happy to have met all of you. I'm very happy and appreciative for, all the time that you took to help this thing get going. And, of course, wish you guys nothing but the best in the future.